Well, a very good afternoon to you. I'm Bill Graff, along with Nan Su and Amy Howe. This is China Uber Alice on AM 1080 KSCO. We have quite a show for you today. Good afternoon, Nan.
Hey, Billy. How are you?
I'm great. Good afternoon, Amy.
Hi, Billy and Nan. How are you guys?
Hey, Amy.
Terrific today.
Hope the raining days didn't get you down.
Down a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
not flooded.
Not flooded. That's good. I guess that's all we can hope for when it rains like this. For those of you who might be listening out of the area where the show emanates in California, we have received quite a bit of rain in the last couple of days.
Yeah, a lot of flood warning, but luckily we can still open today, so we can do the program. And we're going to talk about a lot of things very much interesting. We're going to talk about the China policy from the Biden administration, and also we're going to talk about the investigation that's going on through the House investigative committees that demanding the University of Pennsylvania release funding records on the School of Penn Biden Center, a policy institute launched by the President Biden in 2017. And guess what? They receive a lot of money from Chinese government. And the manager of the Penn Biden Center, it's currently the Secretary of State in the United States, Anthony Blinken. So what is that going to, make it how it's going to make the impact to the future China policy of the United States? We're going to talk about that. And of course, before we start the discussion, we are going to first have our first segment, Amy's story. Amy spent more than a decade of time in China's re-education program because of Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao. So, Amy, what are you going to bring us today?
Yes, once again, first I have a personal question for you and Billy. For you, Nan.
Yes.
Do you think you have a sense of humor? Because lots of people say Chinese don't.
Well, sometimes I do, but not all the time. Sometimes I'm just like the raining days.
I think you do. I think you have a good sense of humor. For Billy, so do you like to tell the joke or just listen to joke?
I like to tell jokes. I like to tell jokes. Unfortunately, I'm really bad at telling good jokes.
So you're going to miss the punchline or what?
Sometimes I can't remember the punchline. It's which is really bad if you're telling jokes.
Yeah, let me share a joke with you, which I have thought about to bring to our audience a long time ago. I guess only the Chinese, if a Chinese person is qualified to tell this joke. Okay. The joke is about the two white men playing ping pong in their garage. So one asks another, how do you know Chinese move to your neighborhood? And the other one answer, when Mexicans start buying auto insurance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yes, if you say that Chinese saying, but they always say joke about Chinese the bad drivers. Chinese with a driver's license, that's part of a joke. So anyway, another question for both of them, because Nan, you are the reporter, and Billy, you are a radio guy. So do you know anybody or any famous case and for people, punished by telling the joke? Anything.
The only person I can think of would be George Carlin when he came out with the 7 dirty words you can't say on radio and TV. They hauled him off to jail for a while and threatened him. He finally got out of it, but what came out of that whole incident was the fact that the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, sort of used that comedy bit that George Carlin said as the broadcast standard for what's obscene.
Wow. Well, I actually didn't know any person personally that went to jail because of just telling a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, today I want to tell you the story, a true story, and called The Bad Joke.
All right.
Yeah, and, that was happening in 1978. I think at that time Mao already gone, 1976 he died. And then the chairman Deng Xiaoping, and become the chairman during that period. I mentioned the story, we go to re-educate, so each one, we had to have, called the red couple. And so one of this, poor farmer in prison, and they were re-educated. So the red couple is a lady, and, her name is, Mrs. Hong. And, she has, twin boys. And they are good boys. When they turn 18, they both join the army. And then afterwards, they got a job in accounting as like a security guy, and twin brothers. So that time, in China, because the mortality is very high, so there's a joke talking about in that area, because lots of malaria. So they say they only see the pregnant woman, but never see a woman with a kid. That means lots of kids gonna die. So they all name their kids like an animal. They think an animal they can live a more survival rate. So these twin brothers, and the older one called Baby Horse, and the other one, the younger one called Baby Donkey. Okay, the baby donkey, baby horse, baby donkey, they're both good boys, and they go to the army, join the army when they're 18. So this Mrs. Hong always asks me, because she couldn't read and write, so write a letter to them. Every time we receive the letters, she always want me to reply. And I always tell them about mom and dad's fine, wanted them to follow the Mao and be a good soldier, blah, 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 like this. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's after I left the labor camp and the village, and I think I was in Kunming or that time, and then somebody from the county and tell me, give me the bad message. He said, "Do you know what's happened to Mrs. Hong?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, her twin boys, they both arrested. I said, "How can that be?" Because they all from the good family, the poor present, so it's good social status. And then both is a veteran, right? And was Liberation Army soldier veteran. And then they both have a job for the government. How could that be? So what did they do? And the guy said that, I tell you the story. Said that it's unbelievable. And I think after they got a job in the county, so they gotta have a salary. So they save the money. They are good boys. So during the Chinese New Year, so they wanted to buy 2 pairs of shoes for their parents. In the village, we never wear shoes because we can afford. And I think their parents never own a shoe, own life. So they think that now they have money and the parents getting old. The winter time was pretty cold, so maybe they can wear shoes. So they went to the department store, and there's 3 sales girls. They chatting to each other. They not even look at them. And so they kind of angry. So they said, "Hey, girls, we want to buy shoes." So the girls said, "What kind of shoes?" He said, "Oh, for my parents." And so they just throw 2 pairs of shoes in front of them, said, "Maybe those old-fashioned ones. Is that right?" And so they look at it. They say, "The fashion, the style is okay." Said, "But how much is?" And then a girl said, $5.50 each. So they look at it. They said, "What? Last week I were here, it was $4." So we only bring $8 yuan, and to buy 2 pairs of shoes. How come now is increased to 11 yuan? We don't have it. And then the girl say, tough luck. We don't have it. Don't wasting our time. So just took the shoe back. And so they're very kind of angry. So then the baby horse, the older one, and turn around and say that to the girl. He said, in this country, everything grow. Only our chairman never grow. So just said that. And then the baby donkey, his brother, laughed. And the girl laughed. They all laughed. And then afterwards, on a whole department store are circulating this joke. And then after that, whole county was circulated. So the police, somebody reported the police department, and they said they were insulting Chairman Deng. Because you know that Chairman Deng is a very short man, so he say never grows. That means, insult him. And so the police department, they investigated, they traced back the source of the joke. So they found the 3 girls, and then the girl described it and how the guy looked like. So they arrested them. They both been arrested. And in the jail. So they started interrogation. And so the jailer was asked the baby horse, the older one. So you say that it's this. He said, yes, I did. And so he asked the baby donkey, his brother. He said that, you hear your brother say that, you also laughed. And then the baby donkey, and he's kind of smart. And he said that, no. He said that, yeah, I heard that he said, but that we mean Chairman never grow, Chairman Low. He said, not the Chairman Deng. He said, who's Chairman Low? Chairman Low, he said, is the chairman of our commune. He said, he's a dwarf. That's why we always make a fun about that. He said, so, he never get mad or anything, no big deal. And so the interrogator, the jailer said, well, so we don't believe you guys. And I'm going to go to your village, commune, and I get the Chairman Low here. So Chairman Low come in, and he's a dwarf, and about 4 feet high, And, but he's capable to do everything, just short, right? And, but he's kind of mean guy. So they told him about it. They say they always making fun of your high or whatever, and they say you never grow or whatever it is. He said, no, I don't think they really make a fun of me. He said that they definitely make a fun of Chairman Deng. So here you go. So in the end, the baby horse get 20 years. And baby donkey get 15 years. And the baby horse make the fun of Chairman Deng. So that's the anti-communist party and anti-revolution. So 20 years. And the baby donkey, and he tried to cover, he laughed at the joke and also tried to cover for his brother's conference. So for 15 years. So they both went to jail because, that joke. So it is a bad joke.
Now I know why you asked why we have a sense of humor or don't have a sense of humor, and whether I like to tell jokes or not. After that story, I don't think I'm going to tell any more jokes. Oh my! I don't want to go to jail for telling a bad joke. I can't even tell a good joke.
Yes, for that many years.
Wow, that's something else.
So that's a really bad joke.
Once again, Amy, your stories illustrate how different things are in a totalitarian government situation.
Under a communist government.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess a lot of Chinese experience that kind of experience. I remember I read a true story about the Cultural Revolution. You know, during the Cultural Revolution, basically they make Chairman Mao kind of like a god, kind of like a
elevated for sure.
Yeah, a superior being, right? So. So everyone's home had this kind of a little mouse statue, right? Some of them are full body, some of them are half body, but basically it's got a Chairman Mao, or at least a picture on your wall, right? So, there was a story about a guy, from countryside. He was a pretty humble guy. So he went to the town, and then he was in this kind of a bookstore. He saw the Chairman Mao's statue, right? And then he bought two of them. So he bought two of them. Now he went out. He was on his way home, and he kind of like, how I'm going to holding, two statues in my hand, right? So he just come easily. He take a piece of a rope, just tie the neck of both statues, and then he would just put it on his neck. One on the front, one in the back. It's on his shoulder, and he was just like feel pretty good. He was just walking, and then he was like, it was a statue, right? He was a humble farmer. Now, and you know what? He was beaten to death that day.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Wow.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. He should have made it harder on himself and carried them, some other way.
Yeah. So I was thinking, right now, I don't know, recently we still have a comedy club or what? Because for a long time now, and you tell the joke in this free speech country, and you had to be politically correct. Right?
Well, yeah. In some comedy clubs, I don't know how politically correct they remain, really. But, you can get away with saying a lot of politically incorrect stuff.
Not too long ago, I think it's the Obama time, and Obama and Biden, and they have this press club or something. They hire a committee to talk the joke or something. So one year, I think they hire one guy. It's a Chinese guy. He coming to United States not too long, but I admire the guy because you tell in English you had to really know the. Master the language.
Is that
right?
Joe Wang? Is that Joe Wang?
Joe Wang, yeah. And I listened to one thing he said, right now it's computerized. He said, I think one person can do two people's job. So why we need a vice president for? That's so everybody laughed. Yeah, everybody laughed. So the camera was toward Biden. And I don't think Biden is that happy, but he laughed a little bit now. And then another thing he said, something which was also, he said, if I'm want to run for president, he said, my name is Who. He said, my slogan would be, who cares? So you know what? And he never been invited since then. So.
That's funny.
And he's a comedian.
That's funny.
That is
funny.
funny.
Yeah. I actually listened to that joke.
Yeah, you did?
Yeah, he was in the Congress, right? He was talking about a bunch of government leaders and congressional representatives.
They have the tradition, always have and to have this party, or the press people,
This illustrates the difference between what happened, to the man who told the joke in communist China and the man who tells a joke like that in Congress. Hey, it's 2:26, and we have a special guest who is going to join us now on China Uber Alice. His name is Michael Harrison. He does the Michael Harrison Rap on Fridays at 6 o'clock here on KSCO. Michael Harrison has served as the editor and publisher of Talkers Magazine, the leading trade publication in the American talk media industry, for the past 31 years.
Wow, more than 3 decades.
In that capacity, he has become widely recognized as one of America's leading authorities on radio, communications, and public opinion as it's expressed in the media. He's also being the director of the annual Talkers Convention, which is held in New York. That's been held for 23 years. I didn't even know that. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Mr. Harrison graduated from Hofstra University in 1971. He is a charter inductee into that university's Radio Hall of Fame. He sits on the university's Lawrence Herbert School of Communication Dean's Advisory Board. He's still really look. He's been doing this for 53 years. He's still very dynamic, as you hear each week on our station. As a broadcaster, he is a pioneer and innovator in both talk and rock radio, as well as being a driving force in the industry's trade publication. I've known Michael for a while, but I did not know this about him. He has been an on-air personality or an on-air program director at some of the biggest and most legendary radio stations in New York, Los Angeles, San Diego, and Boston.
Those and are all, Santa Cruz.
Those are also gigantic radio markets, every one of them. Michael Harrison hosts the weekly radio program, The Michael Harrison Wrap, that you hear right here on KSCO and 70 news talk radio stations around the United States and the United Kingdom. He also has an award-winning podcast, The Michael Harrison Interview. It's one of the most popular among those covering new media in the broadcast industry. Michael Harrison is one of this country's leading experts on the intersection between current events and talk media, and we have the great pleasure of welcoming, if I could talk, I could rule the world. Michael Harrison. Michael Harrison, welcome to China Uber Alice.
Wow, what a beautiful introduction, and I appreciate it. And it's great to be with you, Billy, and Nan Su, and Amy Howe, and wow, here we're all together, and what an exciting program this is.
Yeah, pleasure to have you, Michael.
Yeah. Haven't seen you in a while, Nan. This last year of 2020 kind of created a little bit of distance between a whole bunch of new friends. But I am looking forward to the next time we have a chance to maybe do one of our U.S.-China relations forums with your newspaper, the Epoch Times, and of course bring China Uber Alice into this and the work that's happening at KSCO. It's hard to believe how long we've been in this pandemic. Time is just melting away. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, Michael, are you planning to do another Talk Magazine annual kind of like conference in New York this year?
Oh, we'd love to do one this year. We had to skip last year's. And, the mistake that we all made last year was, all right, we'll have it in June. Oh, it doesn't look like we'll have it in June. All right, we'll have it in August. It doesn't look like we'll have it. So we're very careful this year, 2021, about stating when we're going to do it, because even though we have the vaccines, obviously we're not out of the woods yet. So I'm not sure when we'll do it, but it is our intention to have another convention in 2021. It's part of what we're about. People in the industry really like that event.
But just plan to have one in the virtual space then. At least we can have one, even though it's not in the big city in New York. Still, all around the world, people can meet at a virtual space now, right?
Well, that's a very good point. However, I feel that virtual webinars and virtual conventions, they do serve a purpose. But there's something about people actually meeting each other, getting to talk to each other. They make deals. They network. They we call it elbow rubbing, which is something we don't do a lot of elbow rubbing anymore in our society.
No,
I think eventually we're going to forget how to do it. But without doubt, we're going to do something. But I would prefer that we do it in person. Not so sure we're going to do it in New York this time around. New York is not conducive to the kind of, tight packed, theaters that we put together and the cocktail parties and all that. So we might do it someplace outside of New York where the rooms are bigger and we could do the distancing and all that. Because no matter what, I actually think for years to come, two or three more years, as a society, we are going to be impacted by all of these new habits we've had to develop in terms of how we socialize, how we are physical with each other. And of course, I do want to mention, before we go too deep into the niceties of this discussion, is that let us not forget that there is a connection between the suffering that the world is going through, the loss of life, the loss of business, the loss of jobs, the loss of relationships. There's a connection to the CCP. I mean, this is an ongoing conversation that we are having. We're doing it very politically correct. I mean, it's been a little bit warped by the election and the polarization and the hyperbole that everybody goes through about politics today. You know, what do you say about China? How do you deal with China? But the fact of the matter is there's tremendous evidence to indicate something murky. I like that word, murky, in terms of communist China's connection to the origins and the spread of COVID-19. I'll leave it at that for now.
Boy, I'm glad you reminded folks of that, Michael, because, I'll always remember the name of the city where this came from. It's burned into my brain, Wuhan, China. I'll never forget that name.
I remember having to figure out, because I said, okay, we're going to be saying this a lot on the radio, the Wuhan coronavirus. Because most of us really didn't know the word coronavirus either. So if Billy is absolutely right. It was the Wuhan coronavirus. Then it got all political correctness set in, and
in the way I call it, it's CCP virus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the Epoch Times calls it the CCP virus, and that's and there's a reason for that. And of course, the Epoch Times is a newspaper that really has been on this story years ahead of the curve for the rest of the media. And so I think that was a smart and an apt thing to do.
Michael.
Yes, Amy.
Very welcome to our program. Lately, we have some audience, and they were suggested that we should change the program name, China Uber Alles. So you think that we should change it to Russia Uber Alles?
You are funny. No, but I think that the name China Uber Alles, which many people ask when I mention the show or we write about the show, they go, well, what does that mean? And I don't know how recently you might have explained it, but for the people listening, if they don't know, it's a sarcastic play on Deutschland über alles, which meant Germany above all, which was a phrase used by the Nazis during the rise of Hitler in Germany and Nazism in the 30s. And it basically is saying that China deals with the United States and deals with the rest of the world in that attitude that they are above everybody else and that what's good for China is good for the world. So China über alles. My feeling on that, I don't know if you were just being funny, but you asked the question, I'll answer it. I think the time will come within the next few months when the name can change to something a little bit more straightforward. But for now, I think it's a real attention grabber, and I think a program like this needs to get attention.
I think the audience, they mean, there seems like a new administration, and they were focused on Russia and more than China. So that's the question.
Well, the Russia situation is very different than our situation with China. I mean, both nations, along with North Korea, Iran, and a number of others around the world, are not necessarily our best friends. However, in the world of 2021, we have to deal with our enemies. They're more like frenemies, to use an expression, than it was back before the digital era and before the world shrunk to such a small economic village, if you will. But the truth of the matter is that we're all better off working with each other to one degree or another than to be completely behind iron curtains. I remember when I was a kid growing up, Red China, Mao Zedong, the Cultural Revolution. It was so scary and so mysterious. It was like another world. Couldn't imagine, the Iron Curtain, Red China. And now, you see Xi Jinping meeting with former President Trump when he was president at Mar-a-Lago, talking about the cheesecake. It's far less scary and mysterious. It should still be scary, though, because the dangers are very great. But they're not the same dangers that we felt back in the Cold War when we actually imagined dropping nuclear weapons on our cities and invasion of armies coming across the border and being, enslaved. That's a very difficult thing to do in reality. So it's a much more subtle type of a danger. It's much more below the surface. It isn't as, violent and extravagant as our imaginations had us thinking back in the 50s and the 60s.
Michael, I have to ask you something. You being the recognized worldwide expert on media and talk radio and various forms of communication, I have to ask you this question. When I found out you were going to be one of our guests on the program, I formulated this question like last night, late at night, and I've been dying to ask this to you. China, controls its media, and I mean when I say they control it, they run it with an iron fist. Are we in any danger of that, given the recent events in our country, of the muzzling of some, internet companies, information disseminators, the way our media seems to be so polarized? Are we in any danger of ending up like the CCP?
We always are in danger of losing the First Amendment and free speech disappearing. But I'm going to answer this very carefully because I don't think I'm going to give you the answer you're expecting. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you the opposite answer. The situation in the United States with the First Amendment, there are two things. There's the First Amendment, which is the letter of the law about free speech, and then there's the spirit of free speech, which is not in the First Amendment or even in the Constitution. Just what's right, how people should deal with each other in terms of censorship. The First Amendment. Now listen to this very carefully because it's counterintuitive. And the answer to your question based on this is no, we're not in that danger. As a matter of fact, we're creating the danger ourselves. The First Amendment guarantees the right of any private platform to be biased. It protects the right of private radio stations, newspapers, platforms, websites, newsletters, meetings, political parties. It protects the right to be biased. To say, I don't want to put that show on KSCO. I don't want to write that article in Talkers. It goes against my opinion. The First Amendment does not guarantee you a soapbox. It does not guarantee that people will like what you say. It does not guarantee that anybody will listen to you. It only guarantees one thing, and that is that the United States government, the government itself, cannot stop you from having a political opinion or speaking it. They cannot censor you. They cannot censure you. They cannot fine you. They cannot imprison you. They cannot execute you. They cannot deport you. They can't do any of that to you based on your political opinion or your artistic opinion. It's not just politics. It's expression. Now, does that shock any of you that I just said that?
Actually, that is what I was hoping you were going to say, because that's my opinion.
Now, what about this? What about how do you comment on? China's Chairman Xi Jinping have always had a Twitter account and sending a bunch of lies, never get labeled and censored. But the president of the United States and the First Family, it's all their accounts on the Twitter platform of totally censored and can't even cancelled.
It is not the role of the First Amendment to protect the First Amendment rights, the freedom of speech of the president. It's to protect us from the president. The president is the most powerful man in the world. It is so overblown that they have taken away his Twitter account. The president could start his own Twitter. Trump could start his own Twitter tomorrow. If Trump said to any of the news channels, if he said to Fox, if he said to Newsmax, if he said to OAN, if he said to KSCO, or if he just puts up his own little website, I'm going to be speaking every day, here's my opinion, they would run it. He could, if Donald Trump wanted to go on national television right now as ex-president, he could go on and say anything he wants. It's ridiculous to create an issue about the fact that Twitter or Facebook is denying Donald Trump the ability to speak. They're protecting those platforms to be able to exercise control over what they have because they're private businesses. They are private. It is the exact opposite of the situation in China. So what you're doing is you're viewing the situation from the perspective of people who've lived under communism in China and not realizing that the American political system is far more nuanced and far different than in China. And in fact, it has the exact opposite effect. If Facebook or Twitter were forced to carry the president, that would be the same as you being forced to have somebody on this show who is saying something that goes against the philosophy of the show. Now, maybe you're thinking, I'm doing that right now, but I assure you I'm not. The First Amendment would be in big trouble. Freedom of speech in America would be in big trouble if all of these social media platforms were forced to put everything on them that anybody wants to say. That's not freedom of speech. That's forced speech. And Billy, it's interesting because you're a radio guy and you know the background. Most conservative radio broadcasters are terrified that Joe Biden is going to bring back the fairness doctrine. That was the rule that ran broadcasting up until the mid-late 80s when Ronald Reagan threw it out for being an infringement on the First Amendment. The fairness doctrine said if you're going to talk politics, you got to have both sides on. If you're going to do the left, you got to do the right. If you're going to do, and as a result, because opinions are so difficult to actually slice and dice and measure, most radio stations never talked about controversial politics for fear that they were going to get fined or thrown off the air or lose their license. And it was just the opposite. It chilled free speech. But what happened was after it went away, it opened the door to conservative talk radio, to people like Rush Limbaugh, and it opened the doors up to all opinion, and talk radio grew to become a phenomenon in the 90s, then into the end of the 20th century, and certainly now here in 2021, talk radio, which has spawned talk media, cable news, talk television, online talk, is one of the most influential forces for political change and for political conversation in the United States. And it's been quite the opposite. So be careful what you wish for, because if you think that somehow the president is being treated unfairly by the First Amendment, you got it all backwards. And I really encourage the Chinese people in America who are fighting the CCP to be very careful not to misunderstand some of these nuances in American political philosophy that are not the same as they are in China. And I'm glad I'm having this chance to say this to you boldly. And again, I'm glad Billy gets it. But I hope that Amy and I hope that Non, that you both understand what I'm saying.
Well,
Michael,
Michael, I respect your opinion, but
this is not my opinion. This is academic fact.
Yeah, it is academic fact, but unfortunately, our NTD TV, we have a program that was just recently censored by YouTube.
They have the right to do that.
Yeah. Of course,
why
if they can
why,
do the things, if they can censor presidents' Twitter, they could apply
YouTube,
the same to everyone else, right?
But YouTube is a private platform. It has the right to censor.
Let me see if I can help you, Michael.
Yeah.
If somebody said to you at the Epoch Times, you must run this. You must run this piece. The government said you have to run this. What would you say? You would say at the Epoch Times, you would say, I'm sorry, we're not going to run this. It's not part of our philosophy. We're not going to. They can't force. It's the same principle, but backwards. It's the same thing.
Well, isn't that YouTube or Google in this case? They are just adding as the power similar to the government.
But same thing as the
okay, let me jump in. Okay. Because this is interesting. This might be an antitrust suit. This might be an ethical suit. This might be a wake-up call to all the other media, like, hey, you're feeding the beast and you're turning all these platforms that we thought were alternative novelties 20 years ago, 25 years ago, into monsters that have enormous control over the thought process of Americans and our culture. That's a valid concern. You could say, ho, YouTube is dangerous. You could say Facebook is dangerous. I've been saying Facebook is dangerous from the first time I saw Facebook. You're not going to find a Michael Harrison page on Facebook, and I've never liked those things. I think that, and I don't want to go off on a tangent. That's a whole other discussion. But it's not a First Amendment issue. That's the point.
Well,
Michael,
Amy, you go ahead.
Yeah, Michael. I'm just a private citizen. I use Chinese the social media WeChat. The reason is that's the only platform can use to contact with the people in China. They are my friends. And as I use that, I've been censored by them all the time, and they shut me down 5-6 times. And then I start again. Right? And but right now, I don't have anything with Twitter. I don't have anything with Facebook. But my friend, and they have a lot, and they've been censored. So they asked me, what's the difference in United States or in China? You will say WeChat. That time they told us, some TikTok. And so we had to ban this, ban that. They were stealing our secret, whatever. And now, in our own company, and in the United States, this American corporations, so they started doing the things like CCP, the government do. Same thing. So it's kind of confusing.
It is confusing, but I hope you listen to what I said, because there still is plenty to argue about. It's when the government starts telling American citizens what they have to believe, what they have to say, what they can say, and what they can't say. That's when we have the situation that's similar to what the CCP has been doing in China. But as long as these platforms are private, we have to deal with it. And censorship can definitely be a stifling situation, and power and money can go a long way to creating injustice in terms of our communications. But it's a giant leap from the government telling you can't do it to a private company saying you can't do it. Do I believe that Twitter and Facebook are too powerful? Yes, I do. However, I'm very hesitant to call in power, the government or any other, in curtailing it. We have to be we have to be legal-minded. We have to catch up to the present-day technology with our legality, which has always been the case when there's been new technology, to be able to deal with it effectively and with justice.
But the truth is right now, and the big company, they seems like our government, a new government, was their representative. Because the money they contributed to the campaign is unbelievable. And most of those companies, and they control the media and control the government, and to eliminate the people. You say that Trump, he can have a right and maybe money or maybe power to go anywhere to start their own website. What about our little people?
Okay,
so we just be controlled.
Well,
and
listen.
Then so-called government say, I guarantee you, First Amendment guarantee you, and then they controlled by the big money.
If you're going to, Amy, if you're going to continue to repeat the thing that I told you is not true, then you're not going to grow, and you're not going to learn, and you're not going to serve the truth as effectively. The fact of the matter is that the government cannot stop you from speaking out. Private business can. And if private business has gotten out of whack in terms of its power and its influence, then that is something we have other remedies for in dealing with it, in terms of monopolies, in terms of antitrust, in terms of, if we want to go a little deeper down the rabbit hole, this whole Article 230 that was created to give Facebook and certain social media platforms immunity from being sued for what people put on their sites, it gets confusing, and I'm trying to avoid us going down that road. But I would say it's very important that we don't get too hung up on this censorship situation by trying to compare the U.S. as going the way of China when this really isn't indicating that. And because there are so many other issues regarding our relationship with the People's Republic of China, which is a communist nation run by a brutal dictatorship that does threaten American interests domestically and abroad on so many levels. I mean, we're talking about the repression of religion. Look at what they do to Falun Gong. Look at the inhumanity to the Uyghurs. Look at the military operations in the South China Sea. Look at the suppression of democracy in Hong Kong. Look at Taiwan. Look at the unfair trade practices that we have been duped into letting the Chinese communists do to us. Huawei and the technical infringement on privacy, the stealing of intellectual property, surveillance, as I mentioned, and lies. The Chinese communists, not the Chinese people, the Chinese communists are pathological liars. It's very hard to do business with them. And this is not I didn't pull this out of the air. I've been studying this for years. And certainly you folks know it better than I do. There's so many things that we have to deal with China. We shouldn't get too hung up on this free speech thing because, believe it or not, that's not the same.
Michael, let me help you out here. The fact that we can talk about it on this radio program and not be immediately shot it illustrates the point.
Of course. And the best way to preserve free speech is to keep doing it, is to just keep doing it. Don't whine. I can't, conservatives, one of the things about conservatives that I've always identified with is that conservatives take responsibility. They believe they don't want handouts. They don't want the government playing too much of a role in their in their fate. They don't want a nanny state. And look at all the conservatives are whining. Oh, the government has to step in and protect us from Facebook because they're taking away our freedom of speech. When did conservatives suddenly become socialists? Because that's what you're preaching.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think, Michael, you're right, about the China things. But I'm more interested, I think our audience and American people, they're more interested is how they infiltrate to our government.
Well,
those kind of things.
That's
which
interesting.
Cannot be touched. We're going to be shot.
Well, that's
I don't know how long we can say about it.
Well, here's the situation, in my opinion. In my opinion, they have infiltrated big business. And the government has helped them do it. And we're not talking about something that is a Democrat or a Republican initiative. We're talking about Obama. We're talking about Clinton. We're talking about George H.W. Bush. And we're talking about George W. Bush, the first president in the last 5 presidencies to actually stand up to China. Although arguments can be made as to how effective he did it, but the fact that Donald Trump stood up to China is probably the most popular initiative he's done from both the left and the right. And it was because the presidents and the United States government and the UN, they basically gave China carte blanche to be able to do whatever they wanted to lie, to take advantage, to distort the truth, and to basically engage in international trade in an unfair, disingenuous way. And this happened not just because they've infiltrated the government, they've infiltrated big business based on some cockamamie idea that they're capitalists now, which I've had long conversations with Nan Su talking about how Chinese capitalism is not the same as American capitalism, and I learned well from you, Nan Su. I learned well from you. And you know what I'm talking about. But so there's a lot of people who are to blame for the Chinese influence on our entire way of life. And it comes right down to the people who, upon being aware that those sneakers that you're getting a $5 or $10 discount on that were made in China and all those other products were really made in many cases by something that we consider in this country to be slave labor. But we look the other way for our own convenience. And we have got to wean ourselves off of the dependency that we have with communist China economically, and then things will start to change.
Wow.
Wow.
Michael, can you stay with us until the next hour?
I can't stay long because we're in the middle of doing the program for this weekend that's on KSCO tomorrow, and I jumped off of it to be able to do this. But I do want to say some of the conversation we've just had is going to be on the Michael Harrison Wrap. We're recording it, and I think it's an important subject. I'm delighted that we're having a chance to talk about these key issues. But I will come back because you understand I'm a friend of this show, and I am a friend of KSCO. I'm on the station.
Absolutely.
But this show is very close to my heart because I believe that this show is one of the most important broadcasts in America today. Because I think this is the foreign policy subject of the 21st century for the United States of America.
Well, look, I speak up for my two co-hosts here. Anytime you want to come back, you have an open invitation. Your view on media and politics and our industry in general is invaluable, and we're greatly happy to have had you for 35 minutes.
Well, Billy, Non, and Amy, I am honored to be on with you. I can't believe how the time has melted away. I see we're coming up on the top of the hour. I will not dominate anymore. You were so gracious letting me make a filibuster here.
It's a pleasure to have you.
And
thank you so much.
Always.
You know, I can't wait to meet you someday, Amy. I want to see you again, Non, and Billy. It's always great knowing you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Michael Harrison, by the way, if you've just joined us and don't know this, he is the publisher and editor of Talkers Magazine. He's been doing that for the past 31 years, and he will be back on our program, we promise. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
All right, that's the first hour of our program. I'm going to make an executive decision here and move our announcements to the next hour. We'll take 2 breaks for commercials in our next hour, but we do have to run to the national news. Amy, hang on. We'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
All right. This is KSCO Santa Cruz. The program is China Uber Alice. It's 3 o'clock.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. Senator Josh Hawley is pushing back against Democrat accusations he tried to undo the results of the November election. Capitol Hill correspondent Bob Agnew reports.
Senator Hawley followed congressional procedures when he, along with Senator Ted Cruz, challenged the Electoral College results the day rioters stormed the Capitol building. He's being accused of trying to overturn the election results, but tells St. Louis radio station KMOX he was actually trying to spark congressional debate on election integrity. Hawley says what he calls a left-wing mob is trying to silence him, Senator Cruz, and 140 House Republicans, but vows, quote, "I will not be silenced." Bob Agnew reporting.
South Carolina's Senate has passed a bill that would outlaw almost all abortions in the state.
The measure requires doctors to use an ultrasound to try to detect a fetal heartbeat if they think a pregnant woman is at least 8 weeks along. If a heartbeat is found and the pregnancy is not the result of rape or incest, the doctor cannot perform an abortion unless the mother's life is in danger. The South Carolina Senate passed the legislation by a 30-13 vote after Republicans won new seats in last year's elections. It's likely the final hurdle for the bill, which has passed the state House easily in previous years. Governor Henry McMaster has repeatedly said he will sign it as soon as he can. I'm Ben Thomas.
Robinhood and other online trading platforms are moving to restrict trading in GameStop and other stocks that have soared recently due to rabid buying by smaller investors. GameStop stocks rocketed from below $20 to more than $400 this month as a volunteer army of investors on social media challenged big institutions who'd placed market bets that the stock would fall. Among the restrictions, investors would only be able to sell their positions and not open new ones in some cases. On Wall Street, the Dow by 300 points, the Nasdaq rose 66. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Michaels with another Youngevity product update. I want to tell you about the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. This is one of our biggest sellers, and here's why. Not only do you get the Healthy Start Pack, which provides your 90 essential nutrients, but you also get a bottle of Glucogel and a jar of CM Cream. The Ultimate Glucogel is designed to support healthy cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Ultimate CM Cream uses natural ingredients to provide relief from aches and pains and doesn't feel sticky or messy. The Healthy Start Pack, Ultimate Glucogel, and Ultimate CM Cream. These three things make up the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. Remember, if you're looking for the 90 essential nutrients, they are included in the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. Save money, feel better, and support your favorite radio station. Log on to kscohealth.com or call 831-218-5726. That's 831-218-5726 or visit kscohealth.com.
Here's the townhall.com business brief.
Major stock indexes won back some of the ground they lost today earlier in their biggest loss since October. Much of the market's attention remained glued to the wild swings in GameStop, AMC, and a handful of other stocks. While online investors have been buying feverishly, they have been doing that in an effort to take on big hedge funds betting that they will fall. GameStop and several other stocks fell sharply after Robinhood and other trading platforms restricted trading in them, causing an outcry among customers. The Dow gained 300 points today to close at 30,603. The Nasdaq was ahead 66 points to 13,337. The S&P 500 up 36 to 3,787. New York oil fell 51 cents, closing at $52.34 a barrel. With business, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. There are fatalities after a hazardous materials emergency at a Northeast Georgia poultry plant. Business correspondent Jennifer King has more.
6 people died after a liquid nitrogen leak at Prime Pack Foods in Gainesville, Georgia. Hall County Fire Chief Zach Brackett said firefighters arrived to find workers milling around outside, some with injuries. 4 firefighters were also injured with what Brackett described as respiratory complaints. A nearby school was locked down. A spokesperson for Northeast Georgia Health System said multiple people were brought to the emergency room and 5 people died at the plant before they could be taken to the hospital. Gainesville is the center of Georgia's poultry industry, with thousands of employees working in multiple processing plants. I'm Jennifer King.
California lawmakers have agreed to use $2.6 billion in federal stimulus money to pay up to 80% of some tenants' unpaid rent. But that applies only if landlords agree to forgive the rest of their debt. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
KSCO News Talk time is 3:05. I'm Sam Quinton with your King of the Hill traffic and weather. Let's get to the major road closure problems once more to start here. Morrill Road, east of Highway 17. Tree and wires are down. These are power lines that are down. Road is closed. Schultes Road, off east side of Highway 17. Road closed due to a mudslide there. Lodge Road in Boulder Creek area. Road bed failure, it says here. Road is closed. East Cliff Drive, right behind KSCO Radio. We have 1 lane closed due to flooding, which is better than yesterday when they were both closed. And Bonita Drive in Aptos. Once again, road closed, tree down with wires. Moving to your CHP page in Hollister Gilroy. Excuse me, something. I'm going to go somewhere else here. Santa Cruz, Bonnie Doon Road at Highway 1. We have the eastbound lane blocked due to a mud and rock slide there. Elsewhere, in Hollister Gilroy, 85 south at 101 south, traffic collision with injuries reported. There are multiple vehicles involved. Car landed on its roof in the fast lane, and all kinds of stuff going on. There are people all over the scene there. Your Central Coast forecast for the rest of this afternoon. Showers likely, looking for a high of 57. Right now, outside the KSCO studios, it is 51 degrees. Now, stay tuned. We have the second hour of China Uber Alice on KSCO.
Well, I can only say that's the example of how to do the first hour.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. It was very constructive, and it was interesting. People from different perspective views about First Amendment. But let's continue our second hour program. Let's talk about our new Secretary of State.
First of all, just let me double check. Amy, you still there?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Just wanted to make sure. We don't want to start the hour and ask you a question without you not being there.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, we are. There's our National League and Policy Center. Basically recently published a paper says top Republicans on 3 House investigative committees are demanding that the University of Pennsylvania release funding records on the school of Penn Biden Center. Now, the Penn Biden Center, which was formed in 2017 under President Biden, it was a government in the waiting kind of organization, and now based on this National League and Policy Center report, the Pennsylvania University has received over $72 million from China since Penn Biden Center opened.
Wow.
Up from 21 million. So that's like more than $50 million increase in the same time frame prior, and so therefore resulting the questions from watchdog organizations and lawmakers about whether the uptick had any relation to the center. And guess what? The manager of that organization, the Penn Biden Center, has been Anthony Blinken. Yeah, and he is the now Secretary of State. So people worry. I mean, if that organization under the management of Anthony Blinken receive tons of money from China, what is that going to, how that is going to impact our future China policy?
That's a
so now stop here a little bit, and so that center is they is this a study, or they forming and policy? What kind of policy? To China policy or just international policy, or what does the center for?
What kind of think tank is it?
Well, it's a policy. It's like a think tank. It's not specifically about China, but it's being called kind of like a government in the waiting. It's a Penn Biden Center. It's kind of like Biden prepare to establish a kind of like a federal administration, his cabinet basically. So he's got across the board policy research in that organization. And
is that the non-profit?
It is non-profit.
Non-profit, but it's taken $50 million.
It take
72 million.
Yeah, 72 million, which was
from
up
China.
from 21 million from China. That was very much interesting. And then, don't you want to know why Chinese, government gave so much money to so-called Penn Biden Center?
Yes, I do.
Right? PINE.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah. So that's very much interesting, right?
That's the only joke I can tell.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if that's a bad joke. Well, no, that's pretty. You can say that's a good joke.
Yeah, curiosity killed the cat. So
in more ways than one. Look, it does make you wonder, though. The new Secretary of State for the United States came from that background. Mm-hmm. Now, I did read an interesting article. Bethany Allen Ibrahim, who has written several books about China, has written an article recently that is kind of shocking, and I never thought somebody who studied this in depth would come to this conclusion, but she has. She says the new administration, the Biden administration's first few moves and statements on China suggest that President Biden may continue some of the Trump era's most assertive policies against China. Very interesting. Apparently, China's severe domestic repression, its dramatic rise in technological power, and its increasingly aggressive actions around the planet mean that the world expects American president to take action. And what is being said by the Biden administration is that they are going to continue to be, strict with China.
Yeah, what I'm thinking it's show me the action, right? So,
yes.
I'm really waiting to see with all these cabinet officials in place how they're going to deal with China. You have all these cabinet officials, appointees that's in the past making more of kind of engagement policy with China instead of
so you think we might be
decoupling.
You think we might be getting two messages here?
Oh, yeah.
With saying one thing and doing something else?
That's right. That's why I'm really looking forward to see how, our China policy, in which direction it's going to go towards to. That's why I'm really seeing it.
So let's get back to what Michael Harrison was saying in the first hour for just a moment, okay? We talk about free speech, talk about freedom of the press. Let's hope that the press in the United States, the press, the watchdog of media in the United States should be the press, right? That's why we have freedom of the press, so they can be the watchdog on what might happen in government. So if that's the premise, then let's hope that whatever they're saying about what they're doing regarding China will be watched by the press and reported if it's not what takes place. Well, that's my hope.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, but so far I don't see anything. Not much the report either. I'm watching that. I hope somebody reports something.
Well,
you
there's
hear anything?
Not
much.
The only one thing I've seen is this article with this woman that I just told you about. She says the White House rhetoric on China so far, she's been paying very close attention. So far in the first couple of weeks of the administration is remarkably similar to what the Trump administration was saying publicly about China. So I'm hoping that this sort of scrutiny will continue.
Well, one thing I'm pretty sure there will be a difference. It's the Biden and Kamala Harris openly talk about during the campaign of 2020, right? They openly talk about they are going to look for some sort of negotiation or kind of a joint effort with China on the kind of a new Green Deal, the climate change, whatever.
Yeah, obviously so, that's a big part of the new administration. They really want to try to stop the climate from getting any worse.
Okay,
that's what they say.
So. One thing is we have to realize in the past 20 years after we allowed China to join WTO, we have been doing negotiation, and which all these negotiations actually led us to nowhere. Right? All these negotiations, basically, you're just putting the bargaining chips into the hands of Chinese Communist regime, and let them have the opportunity to take advantage from the United States and from the Western world, while we sacrifice the security of all this freedom and democracy in the Western world. So if we actually have any hope that the Chinese Communist regime is going to actually working with us to develop anything that we are hopeful to achieve for the purpose, either humanity or climate change, whatever you're going to talk about, you basically give them more bargaining chip. At the end, the one that's getting hurt, it's always going to be the people living in the Western world. What do you think, Amy?
Yeah, I think so. And I also, be honest with you guys, I think only media right now talk about what's happened in China, what's happened to our policy to China is the Epoch Times. You know, other people I look and search all the news, everything, there's nothing. They talk something with no base, the baseless thing. I mean, just say, oh, gonna be nothing. It's really, talking about it. So far.
Well, she makes a good point. I think I saw one or two articles in the BBC that have pointed this out, because, they're a worldwide organization. They do a lot of this.
But they're not America.
Yeah. Right. But the BBC and the Epoch Times are the only two I've seen reporting any of this.
Yeah. And I searching, I just look at it as a people talk. As a country, they may talk about something, but they not American mainstream.
Yeah.
No, nothing, basically.
Hey, I promised that I would try to catch up because we have obligations to the folks who make the program possible. And so I'm going to take our first commercial break of the show, which really should have been taken last hour. But we had such a fascinating conversation with Michael Harrison, and I'm going to do that right now. We will be right back on China Uber Alice.
Hi, it's MZ. Say, have you been wondering whether to get a China virus vaccine when it becomes available to you? I have too, and there are obviously arguments on both sides. I recently saw a video by Dr. Simone Gold, MD, that has some great eye-opening info on it, on this subject, and it is now posted prominently at the top of KSCO.com. I highly recommend that you view it ASAP and make up your own mind about whether a China virus vaccine is right for you.
This is Bill Lambert of Lambert & Son Moving and Storage. Lambert & Son Moving has been serving Santa Cruz County and the Central Coast since 2005. Call 831-420-0419. Our very experienced, highly trained staff can handle all your residential and commercial moving and storage needs. Highly trained crews for packing fine china, crystal, and artwork. Our crews practice all COVID-19 safety protocols, including wearing masks, hand sanitizing, and social distancing. We also sanitize our trucks every morning. We offer very secure, full-service storage at our Santa Cruz facility. Our crews are experienced with grand pianos, grandfather clocks, large safes, fitness equipment, adjustable beds, office cubicles, and any other item for your residential or commercial move. Local and long distance, short and long-term storage. Mention KSCO for a free month storage. Call 831-420-0419 for all your moving and storage needs.
Hi, this is Chef Jamie Smith of Foodsmith. Interested in trying a paleo diet? Have you thought about going vegan or trying out the ketogenic meal plans? We have all three available every week. We deliver directly to your home, office, or your gym. Do you have food allergens or food sensitivities? We can accommodate up to 13 different food allergens and food sensitivities. All of our meals are gluten and dairy-free. Just go to myfoodsmith.com to place your order now. Foodsmith, the healthiest food on earth.
Hi, this is Hema from the Holistic Mystic on KSCO AM 1080, and I'm so excited to tell you about a show that I'm hosting on Friday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m. Listen in for interesting topics on all things holistic, mystical, and spiritual. Call in with your questions and request for readings. I really want to talk to you about what's holding you back in your life so that you can live your life the most holistically as possible. Remember to listen to the Holistic Mystic with Hema on KSCO Fridays at 7 p.m.
Food with its farmer's face on it. Saturday at 2, Think Local First goes to Eat Local First with Catherine Barr of the Monterey Bay Area's Certified Farmers Markets and her superstar local farmers. As a special bonus, you'll learn how we, as a community, can eat our way to economic security and personal freedom. It won't cost an extra dime, and it will be so easy it will make you blush. Eat Local First, Saturday at 2 p.m. on Think Local First Radio.
This is China Uber Alice on AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz. Don't forget to go to the website, ChinaUberAlice.com. Sign up for our website and view our show material. It's all right there. Easy to see.
So we had an interesting discussion about the First Amendment right, as well as how our federal administration's future China policy is going to go. Now, let me just raise one point. It's not only about our China policy from the government of the United States. It's also about how our society view China. For example, there was a recent article published by CNN, actually, and which talk about the possible boycott of 2022 Winter Olympic game in Beijing. Why? You know, if you listen to our program for last week, which really lay out the reason for, you know, the boycotting the next coming Winter Olympic game in China, because our State Department has issued a document stating that Chinese Communist regime has been conducting genocide against the Uyghurs, the Chinese Muslims in the northern part of China, Xinjiang province. What do you think? Please let us hear from you. Do you think, as a society, we should move towards that direction to boycott the 2022 Beijing Olympic Winter Game?
Yeah, that's a great question. Listen, we have some calls to take. Let's go first to Don in Salinas, who's been waiting patiently. Don, you're on China Uber Alice.
Yeah, good show you got going on there.
Thank you, sir.
I call Biden President Jeden, and I don't say it lightly or as a joke. It's really the truth, because so many of his royal edicts that have been coming out help China. Look at the XL pipeline, for instance. If you want to see what it does for China, Google Canadian Trans Mountain Pipeline. You know, China's been wanting politically stable oil from Canada. They're even to the point of suing the Canadian government to get this pipeline going through. And now Biden cancels the XL pipeline, which was the biggest roadblock to putting in the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Now there's going to be a pipeline from one end of Canada to the other. It's going to poop out into Chinese tankers. It's going to go, and China has designs on being the gas station for Asia. They want to be, they want everyone to get their oil from them, but they don't have any oil, so they're in the process of getting oil. As you know, China's smart. China knows what they want, and they know how to get it. Now, also, look at the Biden joining the Paris Agreement, which costs us money and jobs, raises the price of our energy, makes our products more expensive, but doesn't do diddly damn to China. It doesn't do anything for China. And look at his royal edict on, it's a climate emergency. Well, what's that going to do? Cost us more money, raise our energy prices even more, make everything America produces even more expensive, cost jobs, so that China's stuff is that much cheaper. It's not by accident that all this stuff enriches China. It's really on purpose, and that's why I call him President Biden.
Yeah, hi, Don. Thank you for calling. But one thing I do agree with you is that we shouldn't give any money to Paris Accord, with the agreement or whatever about the climate change. While we are the cleanest country, we have the cleanest environment there. Why should we give China money and to try to help them to lower their carbon dioxide level? They should spend more money. Instead,
it's not like they don't have the money. Well, it's not like China doesn't have the money to spend.
That's right. That's
right. But they want to spend it for the corruption.
Yeah. Can you still hear me out there?
Yeah.
One other thing President Jeden did, he restricted Europeans from coming to America because of the China virus. Guess who he didn't restrict? China.
Give us an example.
Yeah, because I think
we're kind of uneducated. What was the difference? Was there any?
I thought it was a blanket ban for certain travel.
Yeah.
Go look it up. No, it's Europe. It's mainly European countries that have gotten a rise in the China virus. But China is not restricted. Neither are countries that are politically unstable, and you can buy a passport for $5 and a cup of coffee. And if you're a terrorist, you can come to America now, because we don't want to do anything against Muslims. So Muslim countries full of terrorists, and China, they have not been restricted.
Well, I'm not, Don, I'm not sure about that. I'm going to have to research that information for myself, but I'll look it up. Thanks for the heads up on that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We got a
great show, you guys.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Don.
We have a whole bunch of folks that want to get on here. Let's go to, let's see, who is this? Dick in Santa Cruz. If I push the right button there. Dick, you're on KSCO.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Hey, I wanted to run something by you guys. I have a feeling that the Biden administration is rolling out some real draconian executive orders and maybe some laws, if they can push them through, that will basically make political prisoners in the United States. And I might point out one example. The SWAT team entered in a house to take it was on Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you guys saw it, but a SWAT team arrested a 31-year-old journalist because basically he was misguiding Democrats during the 2016 election on social media as far as voting times and places. So he's arrested. They're talking about a 10-year sentence for this guy. I don't know if you guys saw Tucker on that, but in any case, doesn't that sound like China to you?
That's right. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't read that piece of news.
I didn't read that. Yeah, and Dick, so what the charges? What does it mean misleading?
Well, supposedly, okay, the charges were under Title 18. Tucker went over it. Maybe everybody should check it out on the internet. Tucker's piece on it. But in any case, what he did was he used social media to convince, like I said, some voters to go to the wrong places at the wrong time. So he's being charged on Title 18, some federal code about
interfering with an election.
Something along the lines of preventing people from voting or kidnapping them, or something very, very much obviously this doesn't count for that. This was just.
I think that here's what
is that a honest kind of a mistake, or is
see, Dick? I think this case you're talking about. I think this case you're talking about is going to be adjudicated in court, and it's going to depend on the evidence they present based on whether it was on purpose, intentional, whether he did anybody any personal harm. There'll be a number of things that will be considered in this case.
Yeah. It was, Billy, hey, should people be arrested for 10 years and thrown in political prison, essentially, because they state misinformation on the Internet?
Well, see, I'm not a legal expert by any stretch. I don't play a legal guy on TV or anything like that. I'm not Perry Mason, but I do know this. If this makes it to a court of law, which I assume it will, then the political and judicial system will come together in that court case, and we'll find out. And look, if it looks like the guy gets convicted harshly, or that's why we have the court system we have in the United States, where it gets bounced up to a higher court.
Billy,
it could end up at the Supreme Court.
Billy, seriously, it's simple. The First Amendment, okay, does it protect people on the Internet for misguiding other people?
I don't know that. I really don't know.
Okay.
I'm unclear about that. I know the First Amendment protects my right to say anything I want, except there's a fire in the crowded theater.
There you go. You know what it is.
That's
then.
right.
You know what the First Amendment is.
Absolutely.
Hey, let me follow up on one thing last week about Tibet. I talked about Tibet and how China was squishing them. It turns out that, and I mentioned the Dalai Lama and how, and Amy knew that the Dalai Lama was considering not reincarnating again. Now, this is Tibetan Buddhists, okay? Now, the Chinese have thousands and thousands of political prisoners in Tibet. They cannot break Tibet, the hold of Buddhism and the Dalai Lama lineage. So what they did is, once again, you guys were correct on that, but they're trying to say, and when the Dalai Lama, he's 83 now, when he dies, they will announce the lineage is going to be not a Tibetan Buddhist. It's going to be a CCP official or something.
That's right.
That is correct. So they actually, the Chinese Communist regime actually passed a legislature. Basically, it says the next generation of Dalai Lama, it's going to be the one only if he's born inside China. So basically, they got the right. They got the right to decide where the next generation of Dalai Lama is going to be born. Basically,
right. So so what they're doing is they're breaking the will of the Tibetan, the Tibetans, by trying to control the religion.
You are absolutely correct about that, because a lot of Tibetan people, if they really, they truly try to continue their own culture, a lot of them, they actually smuggle their kids, their children out of China and have them go to India, into the town
from Tibet,
where the Dalai Lama live right now, close to China, so they can learn actually the true Tibetan culture.
Yeah, there's thousands and thousands going there. But it just shows you how insidious and how low and how covertly China is, everything they do. And we're starting to do that in our own country, with my first example of that journalist being busted for 10 years. And the one last thing about China, I mean, there's just so many bad things about China. And, I didn't listen to Richard Harris. Seriously, there's so much wrong with China. It's unbelievable.
Let me ask you this. Do you think we should boycott the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympic because of the genocide taking place in?
Yes. We should boycott. We should do everything that Biden's not doing.
Well, first of all,
I mean, seriously. I mean, look at the Hunter situation and how corrupt and how they have the hold. We don't know how deep it goes and how much money Joe and his nonprofits and his, that's what all these guys in Washington do. They form their nonprofits, and all the money is laundered through their nonprofits to their kids, to them, and China's dumping the money into Biden. We know that. I just want to say one last thing about the COVID story, which you guys have always been following with China. I don't know if you talked about this, but you probably did. The latest story out of China is that they've given up on the wet market story.
Right.
Now they're saying it was lab workers that were bit by bats.
Yeah, I've heard that folly myself. Yeah. I honestly think it came out of a lab on purpose as a weapon.
Oh, did you hear they outlawed the Biden administration outlawed the words China virus? Did you hear that one?
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I heard that the Biden issue, and one of the executive orders is to ban the people from calling a China virus.
Yes. Where we all know that it came from a lab, and now they're saying somebody got bit by bats. But it's going through so many different iterations now, so quickly, and they don't even know. I mean, the new virus is going to handle it. I mean, the vaccine.
No, they're fairly confident that it actually will. That it's not.
No, not the South. The last thing out of the White House. What? The South African one, Billy. They don't have what's his name? The King
Fauci.
Fauci said they don't think it's going to work. So,
see, I haven't heard Fauci say that. I the last I heard was they believe that the current virus.
Amy did.
What? Who?
Yeah.
Amy, did you hear Fauci say that?
Yes, I heard. And I'm talking about you just mentioned what we call this virus, the name. Actually, so from the scientific point of view, they always call the virus with original place, like Ebola or some other.
German
virus, German measles, Spanish flu, right? So everything has to be the original, what is from. Yeah. And I think that's absurd, they change the name, whatever. Yeah.
Not now. Not in 2020 with the Biden administration. No.
Hey, Dick, I got a bunch of calls I got to get to.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dick.
All right, let's move on to Nick in Royal Oaks, if I can push the right. Well,
What's
Nick,
that?
I don't know, but Nick in Royal Oaks is. Let's try this one. There we go.
Here.
Sorry about that.
Hung up on myself.
Welcome to China Uber Alice, Nick. What's
Thank you. Can I talk to Amy?
Go ahead.
I heard something.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you. Yes. When Michael Harrison talks about programming for the America, I kind of see that in a wide scale of sense. But yet, when there's a programming, I find that there's the United States of distortion and scrambling. So everybody gets worked here. And I want to tell you a story, kind of mixed with this. Today is the end of the storm, and I was able to collect some water, and I did my drapes with it, my laundry. And I used a plant-powered concentrate. Yeah, this place smells like I used half a cup of ammonia. See, I used plant power to avoid the persecution of being a bastard. I have no reason to use a chemical detergent when there's something very lovely as a fragrant flower in my hands. It's a little more affordable when you really appreciate the tone and language. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I want to end with a joke. That's just the way I go about being an American, because a lot of atrocities have happened here, and we progress. Okay, I want to tell you a joke that's kind of a joke on me. I heard "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" in Chinese, and I want to hear your translation. Are there a lot of dialects in China? Because I heard her say dun, 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 "ching, ching, ching," and if I just went around saying "ching, ching, ching," they would call me a racist idiot and not cool. But do you know, out of the first 4 words of that song, how close to pronunciation am I? I don't know which word I'm saying, but it's like the 4th word in the song.
Yeah.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star. I thought I'd be a light a little bit, because it's having a chemical.
Amy, are you familiar with the "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star"?
Twinkle, twinkle, ching, ching, ching.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's fun. It's childish, but if I just said that to something, and it gets a derelict, and no one started calling things racist, but that's a racist mode of confusion.
That's right. I still remember Billy told me the first time we met, right, in the station.
Oh, let's not tell that story. No.
That's the best joke.
Best joke, but not good for radio.
Yeah, so I do not get in front of anybody in a diesel-powered pickup truck, because this is so inconsiderate. And I propose that is the minority, and it is shrinking.
Thanks for calling, Nick. There you go. The whole idea that we are dealing with a situation involving China where we have, it's almost like we have different rules. We have a different set of rules for the people who are working in government to government, and a different set of rules for the people to people interactions. It's very interesting to me.
So I think, that's why we talked about it earlier, about that new Secretary of State.
Right.
And his background. I think he was a deputy Secretary of State for Obama administration, right? And then later on he has his own firm, a consulting firm. So look at his client, everything. So it's no doubt about a lot of things. In that consulting firm, he makes a lot of money. So lots of money from his client, and also including lots of things which was the Biden family involved. Deals in China and the Ukraine, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. So, but then nobody pay attention. Nobody cares.
It's very interesting in the confirmation hearings that for many of these officials, you never hear any of this of these questions come out during the confirmation hearings ahead of time.
It says 72 to 48 or something, and it's confirmed. But just like you said, and nobody asked the question.
Yeah.
And nobody care about it, or just they want to avoid it. They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So important a question.
Absolutely. I think that separates our political process in the United States with many other nations. We do at least have a process where we're supposed to ask the right questions about who gets appointed for what.
I remember a long time ago, I think McKay is still alive. He was, they want to appoint him as a security counsel, for the Blinken. And McKay was not agree with, so asked him some kind of security questions, there's something he involved with is conflict interest. So, but nobody mentioned anymore. Every time people forgot it, just forget it. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, politically I confess that I should probably do a lot more political research than I do, but, I think part of our problem as Americans is most of us are very busy now doing, trying to get through our daily lives with the COVID and the rest of the stuff that's going on.
So don't you think we all have this, what I call the Alzheimer's syndrome? So lots of things just completely forgot not too long ago.
Amy, I hope we don't. I hope we're not all suffering from mass dementia. I hope that's not.
Yeah, maybe need some longevity stuff. For fresh memory, make it at least have some kind of memory. I forgot so fast.
I read a news article about Xi Jinping saying that he believes China is going to be he wants China to be the leader in the coming year and beyond. With worldwide politics and that sort of thing. He sees China as taking over the role that the United States has now. Do you think the rest of the world's going to go along with that? Because I just don't think that's
see, it doesn't matter if the rest of the world agree with him or not, but what they try to do is they think they can take this role by force. That's what happened. Yeah. Do you think during the World War II, do you think the rest of the world actually agree with whatever Hitler was doing?
No.
I mean, it doesn't matter. The problem is he started doing it anyway. So that's how the war got started, right? So I think that's the problem facing the world. A lot of people do not realize that, and then it's as a society we need to raise our voice to let Chinese regime realize we do not agree with that, and to boycott the 2022 Beijing Olympic. It's just the perfect way to raise their voice
and to raise awareness.
Yeah.
Well, that's a valid point, and we have boycotted Olympics in the past for various other reasons. I mean, the world has occasionally come together for a cause and said, no, we're not going to participate this year. We're not going. Sorry. It has happened.
1980, right? We boycott what was the Moscow Olympic?
That's correct.
Right? So end up in 1984, China boycott Los Angeles Olympic. So basically, I think that it's a perfect scenario that we can raise some sort of a voice about ongoing human rights the crimes, human rights violations, or you can call it crimes against humanity, taking place in China. Olympic game has been always a place that people actually raise the concern about humanity, right?
Yeah, now there's something I think it was some completely new situation we had to think about because of this pandemic. Basically, all the games or whatever, everything changed. So I don't know. So probably had to rethink about what's the new world order. It's maybe it's kind of threatening,
Yeah.
because things like, something is more than we can think. The old concept probably doesn't work. Have to use a new concept to think about how this power of this money, corporations, and
Very
then
good point.
internationally, and they're gonna rule the world. Probably, it's completely new game changing. So I don't know. It's kind of, but is it getting better or worse? I don't know. So it's just
it's a very good point, Amy. That China is involved in a lot of sports now. A lot of sports apparel, sports equipment, sports sponsorships. You think of companies that make all of their tennis shoes, all of their high-cost sports equipment. A lot of it's made in China now. And you make a very good point with that, Amy. That's something I hadn't really thought of till you just mentioned it, but that's very true. The National Basketball Association has a big association with China.
That's right. And Hollywood,
right?
Hollywood
does too.
Yeah, big. So everything just so change. Yeah. So I don't know how we can think about those things.
Let's take a call. Let's take a call from Dan in Pacific Grove, and then we'll take our last commercial break of the show. Let me make sure I've got this right. Is that you, Dan?
Yes, it is. Good afternoon, everybody. Great show. Really appreciate it. Firstly, I'll keep this brief and tight, but firstly, I definitely want to put a big plus vote on boycott by the U.S. and everybody else in the world of the Olympics in China. Look back at what, without me reciting the host of ongoing abuses, you do much more eloquently. But look at the focus on South Africa back when the U.S. and other countries set out to dismantle that government. Mm-hmm. And South Africa did not engage anywhere close to what's going on in China right now. The Uyghurs and the population, anybody who voices a free thought in opposition to the rulers. Secondly, it's become quite common to refer to a head of state as a leader. I personally consider that a propaganda term, so I don't say that. Leadership is an attribute an individual may have, but particularly in reference to China, quote unquote, the desire to be the leader, I don't think that's what's on their mind at all. I think what is on the mind of the management in China is to be the ruler, undisputed ruler. And the way they tend to lead in typical communist fashion is with bullets, barbed wire, bayonets, and prisons. That's how they get power, through violence, and the sort of at any means, by any means tactic we're now seeing employed here by the Bolshevik-style Democrats. So, nothing benign about that. I wouldn't call that leadership. I would call it dictatorship is what they engage in. So anyway, there's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you for the call. We appreciate it.
You.
We have a logical break right here. I think I'll take our last commercial break, and we'll be back to end our program. It's if you've just joined us, you're listening to China Uber Alice from AM 1080 KSCO.
Coast Paper and Supply, a local family-owned supply business, has endured recessions, a big earthquake, and now is dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic. They are reopened to the public for social distance shopping, specializing in toilet and facial tissue, paper towels, food service to-go options, janitorial and facility supplies, personal care items, retail packaging, and shipping supplies. With their excellent selection of quality products and customer service, discover why many local businesses, schools, and households purchase from Coast Paper and Supply. You can find Coast Paper and Supply at 151 Josephine Street in Santa Cruz. Open weekdays 8 to 4 p.m. Or you can give them a call at 831-423-3350. That's Coast Paper and Supply, keeping local businesses and households supplied since 1948. Call us at 831-423-3350.
If you have a home, you have problems. But in your neighborhood, you've got an ace in the hole. Hello, Charlie Friedman here with good news for all of you out there who have a garage door that needs painting, a gate that needs a hinge, or a leaking seal on the shower faucet. The good news is you can find a solution for almost every home and garden problem at your neighborhood Ace Hardware store. That's right, you don't need to go to that big box store because you can find neighborhood Ace Hardware stores in Freedom, Marina, Gilroy, Salinas, and at 2 locations in Watsonville. These Ace Hardware stores are locally owned by my friends Manuel and Carlos Rodriguez. They're almost always on hand to make certain you find the solution to your problem. So, when you have a problem, head for your neighborhood Ace Hardware store. You'll be met at the door and taken straight to the solution to your problem, and you'll be on your way soon with the solution in the bag and a smile on your face. Now, at all Ace locations, pick up your Longevity, Tangy Tangerine, and Healthy Body Start Packs at great prices. Ace is the place. You're ace in the hole.
Hi, this is Hema from the Holistic Mystic on KSCO AM 1080, and I'm so excited to tell you about a show that I'm hosting on Friday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m. Listen in for interesting topics on all things holistic, mystical, and spiritual. Call in with your questions and request for readings. I really want to talk to you about what's holding you back in your life so that you can live your life the most holistically as possible. Remember to listen to the Holistic Mystic with Hema on KSCO Fridays at 7 p.m.
Hi, this is Hedva. Tune in every Thursday night at 9 for Hear It Now on KSCO. What is the it in Hear It Now? It's life. Life after an abortion. Listen to what my guests have to say. Call in. Be a part of the conversation. That's Hear It Now. Thursdays at 9 to 9:30 on KSCO, the radio heart of Santa Cruz.
Last few minutes of this China Uber Alice program today. We've been talking about a variety of things. I think it's funny how when Amy tells the story at the beginning of the program, how well it comes back at the end of the show to bite us, so to speak. The whole idea that censorship can be tolerated is just the biggest fallacy in the world, you know. Free speech is free speech. That's why they call it free speech. If you're not free to speak, then it's not free speech.
Well, I want to continuously to talk about the boycotting of coming 2022 Beijing Olympic. You know what? I graduated from San Jose State. All right. In San Jose State University, we have two big heroes as a former Olympic athletes, Tommy Smith and John Collins.
Yes.
Right, 1968, they are the 200-meter medal and bronze winner.
Yes.
Right, gold and bronze winner of 200-meter. In the Mexico, that's 1960.
Mexico Olympics.
Yeah, they raised their black
power fist hand on the podium.
On the podium.
And they took a lot of heat for that.
Well, they basically lost their whole career, right?
Yeah,
that's the history. Well, that's why if you go to San Jose State University, in front of their library, they have two statues.
Right.
Yeah, there was a statue with Tommy Smith and John Collins. With the second place it was blank. There was no statue over there.
Right.
But that used to be the second place of 1968 Olympic game. That it was Australian Australian athlete who was in the second place, but now in that statute, they actually purposely keep that spot blank because there's always a spot for you to join the human rights movement in the Olympic game. So now with our State Department calling China in the genocide business against the Uyghurs and Chinese Muslims in Xinjiang area, northern part of China, I think we should join that. We should join that movement to try to raise the awareness of human rights situation in China just by doing the boycotting of Olympic game 2022 in Beijing.
So now the Olympic game, we go join or not join, is decided by the U.S. Olympic Committee or just or some government?
Well, of course it's by U.S. Olympic Committee, but you need to have enough voice that's raised in our community.
But the athletes don't have a say. It's the Olympic Committee that makes the decision.
Yeah. So are they vote? The athlete had the team that they can vote, or what? What's the procedures for that? They decided how did the committee decided?
Well, I think you first of all need to have enough voice that's raised by our society, and then you will be later supported by a lot of Olympic athletes, and that's going to join the game because there's always other side of the story is all these athletes, they work their butt out very hard for many years to prepare themselves to join the Olympic game. All of a sudden they just lose their opportunity. So that's another side of the story that we need to consider. But however, I think if we raise enough voice and telling people, there's a lot of people actually totally lost.
So, what kind of rule would the State Department play?
I don't know.
That I don't know.
Really?
I don't see the State Department.
I'm going to look that up and find out. I'm for next week's program, because that is actually a very good question. If the State Department has any kind of say in that or not, I'm not sure that they do. I don't know that the State Department has a say in the Olympic Committee decisions.
Right. The Olympic Committee in every country, I think, it's kind of like an independent organization or something.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, the World Trade Fair or something, they were decided is a private business.
Yeah. We're at the end of our program. Amy, it's I just love how you start our show every week, and I look forward to your story next week again. I want to thank our guest, Michael Harrison from Talkers Magazine. What a wonderful addition to our program today. And, of course, from Epoch Times, Nansu, always knowledgeable about things relating to China and what's going on in the news. Thank all of you folks for being with us. I'm Bill Graff. I'm the guy pushing the buttons. This is China Uber Alice on AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz. Stay tuned for Flight 1080. It's coming up next right here on your favorite radio station.